Hello, I'm Steve Biddulph. It's great to have this chance to speak to you and most passionately support this conference of the Open Eye campaign. You have some of the most outstanding and capable advocates of children's well-being in the world today speaking to you, and I congratulate Dr. Richard House and Professor Lowenthal and all the organisers. My humble part is simply to add a word of encouragement. I seem to have become to the UK's children what Princess Anne is to the UK's horses, and so I'll do my best to grasp the reins or take the bit in my teeth, depending on which is the right metaphor there. I've been a psychologist for almost 30 years now, and over that time I've moved gradually from working with families in serious trouble to looking at how our society as a whole creates that trouble, and how childhood can sometimes actually become worse if not actively protected and nurtured. I read of the early years policy framework with a real sense of horror. It goes against everything that I understand about early learning, and I couldn't believe it was being contemplated. It even crossed my mind that although we might have defeated totalitarianism in World War II and the Cold War, it still arises again and again in the bureaucratic process, and if we don't see it and speak up against it. Caring for children involves a deep knowledge of how they grow and what they need. Everything that we know about early childhood indicates an awesome capacity to self-educate, to draw in what's needed and integrate it. Adults merely need to be responsive and calm and loving, and the world around a child safe and stimulus-rich. And young children will grow themselves in cognitive, language and emotional domains. Any attempt to force or structure these actually backfires. It's like ripping open a rosebud to try and get it to blossom. I often suspect if we had a government program to teach children to speak, we would create stammerers and mutes, and if we had a program to teach them to walk, we'd create cripples. This isn't just opinion. There are many studies that indicate that structured approaches to early learning, such as early phonics, structured play, which is a contradiction in terms, are attempts to assess or to audit childhood or caring itself, any monitoring intrusion into the normal process of care and development, all have an adverse effect. Yet these factors are the cornerstones of what the early years policy not only advocates, but in fact seeks to force onto children and teachers. It's no wonder that the child development community of the UK is mobilising against this. Dr. David Weikart, who some of you will remember as an original researcher of the Perry Preschool Project, in 2006 reported on his final large-scale 10-nation study of what makes good pre-primary education. This huge and up-to-the-minute study found two striking outcomes common to all 10 nations studied. Weikart's results were crystal clear. Children's language performance gains decrease in proportion to the amount of time spent in forced group academic activities. They increase in proportion to the amount of time spent in free choice and expressive activities. Likewise, children's cognitive performance increases when children spend less time in whole group activities and more time in free play. This won't surprise anyone who works in early childhood, but it must confound those who think that learning can be forced in the early years. Forced learning destroys that learning. It makes children go backwards. Given the fact of permanent brain wiring and the durability of attitudes to learning found by people such as Cambridge's Professor Kathy Silver, the harm might well be lifelong. I encourage you in your earnest and vigorous efforts to set these bean counters straight on the facts of how children grow. I wish you a successful day and a constructive and thoughtful change of attitude from those in government, doubtless well-meaning, but needing to listen closely to those who know children best. Thank you.
Okay, it's just to prove that we really are in Tasmania. This is a wombat, and see you later. Bye-bye. Ready to go? Go this way. Go this way.